afternoon, and welcome to the talk this afternoon. My name is Matthew Netherway, and today I'm going to be talking about overcoming some of the challenges of moving to the cloud. Specifically, we're going to be talking about an approach that we believe will maximize on your returns and competitive advantage whilst minimizing risk. So a quick overview of what we're going to discuss during this session. First of all, we're going to start talking about Rackspace. Then we're going to look into the typical motivations for moving to the cloud, and then some of the common roadblocks that we typically see. And then finally, we're going to discuss how to overcome some of those challenges and a framework to mitigate some of these roadblocks that people come up against. So first off, a little bit about myself. I'm the head of solution architecture for Rackspace in Asia Pacific. I've been with Rackspace now for just over 11 years. And I've been working out of Hong Kong for the past 7 years. Previously worked out of the UK offices. I've been working in IT now for just over 13 years. And with Rackspace in region, I'm an AWS solution architect and an OpenStack SME, which we'll talk about a little bit more in the future slides. So now that you know who I am, I'm going to talk a little bit about who Rackspace is. So Rackspace is a managed cloud company. We are now recognized as the #1 managed cloud company globally by Gartner. So fanatical support is our mantra, and it's the very underpinnings of our business. And fanatical support can really be defined as the concept of going above and beyond for our customers in order to create exceptional customer outcomes. Now, our purpose really is to provide solutions and deliver proactive support in order to help our customers sleep easier at night. So Rackspace now has just over 300,000 customers globally. We cover 120 companies and all of these customers will sit across a variety of technology platforms. For instance, AWS, Microsoft Azure, VMware, and OpenStack. Our support is backed by 6,200 Rackers who the majority of them will be customer facing, and they'll be engaged in delivering fanatical support for our customers. So I'm just curious, just by show of hands, who here has heard of Rackspace? Okay, a few of you. Okay, that's good. And by show of hands again, who here knew that Rackspace supports AWS? Less of you. Okay, interesting. It's good to see. So Rackspace is now a AWS advanced consulting partner. We also have the DevOps competency, and as you can see, we've just exceeded 400 AWS certified Rackers globally. So I myself am solution architect certified. We have an additional 399 plus certifications globally in various other areas. So that could be DevOps professional, it could be solution architect professional, etc. So you can be assured that when it comes to AWS, we have a lot of experience in-house, and we can be trusted to know what we're doing. So let's look at some of the motivators for moving to the cloud, and these may not be much of a surprise to you, but recently Rackspace have conducted a survey along with Vance & Born looking at customers who, one, have moved to the cloud, and two, are thinking of moving to the cloud. And unanimously across the board, these were the top 3 priorities that customers were looking for out of a cloud migration. So reliability, that can be broken down into increased resiliency and disaster recovery. Agility, well, it speaks for itself, using infrastructure as code and automating the delivery of applications on the cloud. And then stability, and that's specifically stabilizing existing platforms or existing systems. So those were the three main things that came out of this survey that was across the board unanimous. Interestingly, cost reduction and scalability were a close fourth and fifth. So let's look at some of the roadblocks or the operational challenges that people have by considering a transition over to the cloud. Now, I've worked as a solution architect for many, many years now, and these are some of the key points or the key areas where customers are a little bit nervous. There's a little bit of fear there. Security, that could be compliance, that could be governance, it could be application security, DDoS mitigation. Optimization could be cost, it could be for performance, and then talent. Talent, do you have the right skills in-house in order to make your transition over to the cloud a success? These challenges often build up a picture of how mature your organization is with the idea of moving to the cloud. And specifically by that, I mean, do you have a culture that's brewing within the company that deals with things like automation, and do you have a culture which deals with the communication between your development teams and your infrastructure teams? So there's really three main strategies for moving to the cloud. You can take a forklift approach, aka lift and shift. You could redeploy, which is essentially taking your code, deploying a fresh system, and then redeploying your code on top of that fresh platform. And then there's a transformation approach, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail shortly. So let's look at the pros and cons of a forklift approach. Yes, you're going to save time. Yes, you're going to potentially save some cost. But if you think about it, all of the small tweaks that you make to a system over time, on a platform, making changes, are you documenting all of those changes? Are you essentially, by forklifting, moving all of your problems to the new cloud platform? The drawbacks often with a forklift approach is that it's likely to be unstable. It's like if it's unstable today, just by magically moving it over to the cloud, it's not going to be any more stable. You're still in an unknown configuration, and you're not taking advantage of the majority of cloud benefits that are available to you. Things like auto-scaling, for example. Redeploying, so taking your code from A to B, allows you to move into a more stable environment. You have a documented and a known configuration that you're moving towards, and you have a standardized operating system. So with redeploy, you'll deploy all of your operating systems. They'll all be patched and up to date with the latest security releases. All of the software releases across the application or web fleet will be same versions, and it's a known configuration. Now the drawback to that is it's a bit of a manual effort. There's a lot of work that needs to go into setting up that platform, setting up those systems, and you still may not necessarily be using all of the cloud benefits. Which leads me on to transformation. Now, transformation is essentially the holy grail. You're moving into an environment where it's stabilized, it's a known configuration, you're using configuration management tools, you're leveraging some of the benefits of cloud, and you're enabling self-service. So what I mean by leveraging the cloud benefits, let me give you a scenario. We've been working in Hong Kong with a local electronics retailer, and they were expecting the launch of a very popular mobile device. Unfortunately, I can't say any more than that on that. You can probably read between the lines. What they were afraid of, and they had a similar launch last year, they didn't want to spin up an entire team to be ready for their peak sales periods. So they wanted us to enable them to auto-scale during peak times in order to handle additional workloads. So they engaged with Rackspace and they spoke with our professional services team, and we were not only able to advise them how to implement auto-scaling, we were actually able to do it for them. So the professional services team worked with them. They were able to, the customer themselves were able to save time and effort, and they were then able to make their bosses happy because they were able to scale seamlessly during a peak sales period. Okay? So transformation is the way to go. However, how are you going to get there? What is the approach, or what is the framework for where you are today, moving into a transformation or even a redeploy type scenario? Now, this may not come as much of a surprise to you. This is a very standardized framework. It's industry standard. A discovery phase, planning phase, execution, and then enhance. Now, the discovery phase, in my opinion, is one of the most important. You need to identify where you are today. You need to find out what applications you're running on what hardware, in what data center, etc. It's not uncommon for us as a solution architecture or solution engineering team for a customer to send us a list of hardware, a list of devices, a list of storage devices, or an amount of storage, and the customer will turn around to us and say, hey, can you turn that into a quote, please? And that's a bit of a challenge because there's a lot of other questions that need to be asked. And some of the areas of discovery that need to be looked into is the application ready for the cloud? What is your security profile? How critical? What is the business impact of downtime for this application? And then, what performance requirements are you going to need out of that application? So building a good picture of where you are today is absolutely critical in determining where you need to be in the future. Now, the process is a little bit like peeling back an onion. There's a lot of, as I mentioned, there's a lot of questions that need to be asked, and information really empowers decision making. So the information that you collect during the discovery phase will enable you to make decisions around the architecture or even the future platform that you're going to be using, even the service delivery methodology as well as the transition method. So all of these questions here will be some of the questions that you would ask when thinking about our three challenges that we mentioned earlier: security, optimization, and talent. By the way, there's plenty of other challenges that you could come across. These are just the top three that we see. I would highly recommend engaging with an external company, a professional services consultancy company, if you have a very large server estate, if you're in a situation where you don't quite know what you have or what sits where. Companies like EMC Consulting, even Rackspace, we're able to assist customers in that discovery phase, and we're generally pretty good at it. We've done it before. So absolutely invest in discovery. I think it's an absolutely critical phase. You don't know, you can't make a plan for the future until you know where you are today. So the work and analysis that you've completed during the discovery phase will determine what transition methodology you're going to be using, and then what platform is the right fit. Is it going to be public cloud infrastructure as a service model? Is it going to be a private cloud model? And going back to the challenges that we mentioned, security, cost, and skills or talent, you will have a good picture of what security processes need to be in place, what data profile or what data category you currently have, whether you're happy for that to be moved into a public cloud or do you need to consider a private cloud environment. At this point, you can start to determine things like cost and the optimization that could be possible in the future, and what you need to do in order to make those optimal changes to your application or to your current platform in order to take advantage and make those cost savings. And then finally, on the skills side of things, you'll have a good idea during these discovery and planning phases whether you have the right skills in-house, whether you have the alignment of culture that is going to enable things like automation and usage of software-driven configuration management tools. So it's really at this planning stage where you can pull all the teams together, pull in external parties if necessary, engage with someone like a Rackspace or a third-party consultancy that's going to be able to help drive you through this process. And then, once you have all of this plan, you have a project plan in place, it'll set you up nicely for a pitch to the board to see if you can get budgetary sign-off. So the next phase is execution. So you've chosen a migration methodology, you've chosen a platform, hopefully you have an idea of the team. Now you need to figure out how you're going to do it. What tools do you need in order to secure your application? What tools do you need in order to optimize your application? If you're using AWS, are you using identity access management? Are you using web application firewalls? Are you using CloudFront? Are you using HSM for encryption? Your team plus the right tooling, as well as Rackspace or a third-party consultancy, whoever they may be, doesn't have to be Rackspace, are really going to set you up for success during the execution phase. Okay, so the enhancement phase. This is the most exciting phase. This could be once you've already redeployed on the cloud and you're in a position where your application's up and running. Now you need to enhance, and you could be considering some of these design principles that are going to assist you in taking advantage of the cloud platform that you've been deployed on. So this enhancement phase is really important for optimizing the application for an AWS or an Azure platform. And if you're interested in learning more about these particular design principles, there's an AWS white paper called Cloud Best Practices. It's worth checking out. It's very informative. So, in summary, if we take a look at our three challenges, we have security, optimization, and talent. Security is going to be addressed by an in-depth discovery and planning phase. You need to choose the right application for the right platform. You need to choose the right systems and the right data profile for public cloud or private cloud. You want to perform along with your risk teams. What is the risk of this data being lost? What is the potential risk here? If it's banking information, then you may not want to consider public cloud. You may want to. We recently worked with a bank in the UK that are using public cloud for these systems. So it really depends on your appetite for risk more than anything. And then a selection of tooling that's required in order to protect, one, your business and your application from attacks. On the optimization tier, a combination of a solid architecture, automation and monitoring will enable you to build a platform that is not only self-scaling, but it's also self-healing. So using those design principles, using throwaway hardware, loose coupling, etc., you're going to be able to build an architecture which is cost optimized and will scale with your peak periods, and the infrastructure will increase as your demand increase, and then during your quiet times your infrastructure is going to shrink back down into your baseline, which is going to be the most cost effective way of handling your traffic. And then finally, on the talent, choosing the right team with the right knowledge is absolutely critical. If you don't have knowledge about AWS or Azure or even OpenStack internally, then you may want to consider is that the right choice of platform. You need to have some kind of internal knowledge in order to help guide you, because let's face it, you're going to be building applications for this platform. And then finally, on the expert assistance, engage with external companies. It's always great to get an external view, someone that can give you a different perspective on where they see your limitations, where they see your gaps, and we'll be able to fill those gaps in order to make the future cloud migration a success.